and welcome to the next episode of Play the Ball podcast. My name is Neeraj, and as always, I'm joined by my friend Sai. Honestly, to all the audience out there, I really love doing the podcast episodes right after an Arsenal match day because you never know what kind of mood we'll find Sai in today. So, Sai, before we tune into this episode, all good, all okay?
I just have one word for this. VAR is an absolute disgrace, and it's going to be kind of a biased take. Obviously, coming from an Arsenal fan, you're not going to believe it. But I guess they kind of cost us the season entirely. I agree we have been shit for 2 months in the stretch of October to November. But then ever since that, I think we have been robbed of too many chances and they have just not been consistent. I think it's just plain agenda against our club. And I guess they cost us around 10, 11 points or something like that. But I'll keep on going on rant about Arsenal, which we'll soon be covering in the episode as well. But let's go for the episode.
Yeah, I mean, we are, tell me about it, right? So, like you said, we will get back to it. And so, anyway, in this episode, we will be taking a quick look at what's happening over at Tottenham, Liverpool, and Manchester United, and how their run of form is happening, and what's happening with them right now since 2021 started, and where they need to address their shortcomings as we move towards the business end of the season and moving on to the next summer transfer window. We'll also be taking a quick glance over to Chelsea, Arsenal, and Man City to see where they can improve over from the current squad.
Yeah, and I guess the main idea of this episode is to just cover that one spot of weakness which is hindering the club to go to the next level. So I guess the most trending thing right now is Manchester United and their performance against the big six. So I guess let's just start from there. Is it? So I guess the main problem which I find in this current United side is that they're being too defensive, and it's basically the system of playing two center backs with two defensive midfielders, which is getting them clean sheets, which is fair and good. But then it's also hindering them from scoring good goals. They have just lost a couple of games which they shouldn't have usually, and their performance against the big six has not been very convincing, at least in the attacking side. And it's been very long since they properly dominated a game in the league and won. So, do you think that is the problem, or do you see any other problem in the club as well?
I do think it's a problem, Sai. You raise a very good point. Like you said, we are getting a lot of good. Let's say good. Let's use the word good here. Good, decent results against the top six sides. Especially after that dropping that we received at Old Trafford against Spurs. And since then, Ole has been a bit too defensive, playing with both Scott and Fred. Either earlier it used to be in a 4-4-2 diamond, and now with Pogba out injured, is it back to 4-2-3-1, but with two defensive midfielders, and it does hamper. So last year, right, when you're playing as the top six clubs, he had a really good record again. The elite teams which we were struggling to beat were the usual stories of bottom side clubs, but we had a really good record against the traditional top six clubs. And last season we depended a lot on the pace of Martial, Rashford, James, and with Pogba to spray the balls here across. And obviously towards the later of the season, Bruno joined in as well. And that is one key thing, or rather I should say that there's a change this season because tactics have changed. They don't solely depend on counterattacks anymore. They are willing to sit deep, obviously as always, because they're like, let's say they're playing somebody like City. Unless you're that good, you can't really go take the attack straight to them. But against the other teams, they do tend to sit back, and it's not exactly like threat on the pace, but it's still it's sort of like a hybrid counter-attacking position base. They're hiring increasingly taking control over positions against against the top six sides. Like, for example, we were talking about the lot of 0-0 draws, right? And if you're playing a system like this, you have to be clinical, and that's where United went wrong because I felt they should have won against Liverpool at Anfield. Or that Pogba chance keeps haunting me even now. The Arsenal United was started off a good game, But again, I felt a lot of chances missed. Rashford, Cavani. You wouldn't expect Cavani to miss some of the chances. I felt United should have come away there again with 3 points. Right. So there are some. If you're playing tactics like this, your forwards are supposed to be clinical, and unfortunately, United forwards are not good enough to be that clinical. Yes, you have Rashford who provides moments of magic, and but honestly, he's not the most clinical person around. Martial has been way off his pace this season. Cavani, Cavani has been playing well whenever he's got a chance, but again, he's injured, he's coming on and off. And then you have Daniel James, who has the last couple of game weeks has been good form, but he's not exactly screaming for clean quality either. So there's a lot of shortcomings there, and basically, I was talking to Sai earlier, right before we started recording this podcast about the post-lockdown United team. That's the team that United wants to. Ole wants to is decide to play a DM, a box-to-box DLP, and a cam. He has the cam nailed down with Bruno. And Matic is not in great form. He has been playing Europa and other games. He's been playing well, but he hasn't been able to replicate the last season's form. And he's getting old as well. Pogba has been injured on and off. He's been out of form. And then obviously since 2021 started, he has been contributing a lot. He's been excellent form actually. But yeah, so I think this two defensive midfielder system will change if United does recruit a proper high quality first team defensive midfielder in the lineup. That's a direct replacement to Matic. Is what I personally feel, at least.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. But then I guess the main problems started when Pogba went down injured. And whenever I see United, I see this, let's say, a disconnect between the defense and the attack. Bruno sometimes has to come very deep to get the ball, where he's really not that effective. Bruno is like really effective in the front, near the edge of the box, where he can get shots from outside the box and create those through balls for the runners behind. When Bruno's at his own box receiving the ball from Fred, it's going to be a big problem. And I guess the ball progression has also not been that effective from United. Pogba sometimes helps. He's a very good passer from the deep, and him going down is also a big uh, hole in the United's midfield, which clearly needs to be addressed. And I guess Van der Beek is also injured right now, which is kind of unfortunate. And I kind of agree with you that this is some kind of a profile issue. United does not have the player profile which needs to be done. And one more thing is that it's also all the players you have in the forward line are just pure strikers. You know what I mean? I'm not saying they are number nine specifically. They just try to run behind and just shoot the ball.
Yeah.
And I don't think they particularly create anything like out of their own, or even create chances for others, like at a higher volume, like say a Salah or someone like Sterling does. You know what I mean? It's just Rashford is the kind of guy who thrives around the spaces and thrives in one-on-one situations to finish. And even Daniel James, whenever he was effective, he had that kind of a matchup where he was effective as well. And Martial is struggling a lot with his form. He's not being particularly great in the link. Who is kind of the player who is the link up striker and is not being particularly good effectively. So I guess it comes down to the profile a bit. And also, do you really feel Solskjaer can change his tactics a bit and be a bit more expansive with the players he has? Because I guess Fred, I don't know if he's told to sit before, just before Maguire and uh, Lindelof, or is he like, I don't necessarily see him bombing forward and doing the progression like that. Recently, we saw him like getting some one or two shots outside the box, but then that's just a rare one-off occasions. I don't see it particularly happening in the repeated patterns in the game. It's almost as if they are just there to protect their centre backs from getting outpaced, or just to give them the protection. Do you think with this personal he has right now, can he do any changes to his tactics to get the most out of their attack right now? Or because few weeks back they have nailed on for a top spot, like a top two spot at the least, but now it seems like they need to be aware that their top four spot is under threat right now. And sure, they are still safe, but then it's under threat because the table is changing rapidly every single week. So my question is, do you think Ole can change anything in the tactics and be a bit more expansive, or it's
I
just going
think
to
so,
happen
Sai.
unless we change the profile?
I personally really think he can change his tactics a lot. Okay, fine, you can set your team up to counter or absorb pressure and hit against the big six sides, but you still have enough quality in the side to you beat your Sheffield Uniteds or your Newcastles or your West Brom away. There's a lot of quality still in the squad, and you mentioned a very good point. All the forwards like to thrive in spaces, who likes to take attack. There's not a creator in charge there. So if Bruno has an off day, there's no creation any from anywhere else. You have Pogba to reduce a bit, but if he's off, he's injured now, and over the summer he might move on. He mostly will move on actually. So who else is going to create? That's where the entire last summer saga of Sancho happened. You need someone of his profile really, really badly to take the goal creating opportunities or actions, the burden away from Bruno. While he himself is a quality player, but share the responsibilities. You have a Cavani's to hit a Cavani to be in the box. You have Rashford who likes to thrive in space. You need to have different profile of your forward attackers. You rightly mentioned somebody like Sterling who managed to score as well as try to create chances. That's the sort of players you need, and that's where Jadon Sancho would fit in right in. If not Sancho, anybody else. There are a lot of talks of Rafinha, the Jack Grealish as always. But if United are really serious about taking the squad uh, rebuilding phase further, Sancho is a must. Or if not Sancho, someone of almost equal quality, which is, I would say, almost nobody. Nobody is at Sancho's. The way Sancho plays, there is nobody right now, according to me personally, at least for a 20-year-old. So his somebody of his profile is a must because you need to take the creative burden responsibilities, share the creative responsibilities away from Bruno as well. And so yes, he can do a lot better with his tactics. I mean, games like Arsenal, I really felt we should have taken them, but he was a bit defensive. Even though there are phases we played well against Anfield, Liverpool were there for the taking. They were vulnerable, and we have seen teams like Brighton and Burnley take points away from them as well. And recently Chelsea too. They were there for the taking. They didn't play really well, and we missed the chances, and we paid for it. And we it's the Anfield game that really gets me because Liverpool has the week. That is one game, you could have made a statement, but again, he went too defensively. That Tottenham game was an anomaly, Sai. I have to be frank. I know it's me, United, as a United fan saying it, but that's an anomaly. If Martial had not got that red card, I don't think the scoreline would have been this bad for him to completely change over his team setup to play two defensive midfielders all the time. And I think that's always running at the back of his. Now it's more like defense first, and then keep the clean sheet, and then we'll see what happens. And you were talking about tactics. I read this article. I think pretty sure it must be the Athletic. I'm not sure. Um, it's about how Solskjaer and his team trains United players in a more situational than actual technical tactics, if you get what I mean. Like they'll probably place them in a situation. Okay, what do you do here, what do you do next, sort of thing. Not like, let's say somebody like Pep, pass move, when this player is here, you pass him here, stuff like that. And I actually, to be fair, I didn't notice that, but once I started reading the article, then I started watching the games. It was starting to become increasingly evident why most of the players look clueless sometimes. Like Rashford's decision making at 23 years old, in spite of playing for 5 years, is bad, and some of the other players as well. I think there's a lot to be done on the tactical side. I know they're sitting second right now. There was a time they were going good on a good period of form. They were top of the league. It is more down to other teams underperforming than anything. And I think Jamie Carragher at Sky told it perfectly. It almost like United side could not believe they were the top of the league. They were like, okay, we are playing well. We are just happy here. why not take the next push? And they haven't. And now, like you rightly said, they'll have to look over the shoulders right now with Chelsea closing and West Ham, Leicester right behind United's neck for the top four side.
Yeah, I totally agree. I guess they need to find a little bit balance in their midfield to compensate for their lack of creativity in the attack. And I do feel that he needs to start Van de Beek if he's available. I don't know if he's fit right now or not, but then he needs to start Van de Beek and Bruno together to reduce that creative issues and kind of give the little bit of progression from the deep from at least through dribbles from Van de Beek as well. So I guess that's the main thing, and also the recruitment will be a key thing to do, and to find a guy who from deep can progress the ball further and can also be the guy who will give the protection to the midfield, and the right winger, as you said, who will provide the creativity from the wings as well. So that's about United, and I guess the next club which I want to talk is uh, your rivals, which is Liverpool. And if there is one word which will summarize Liverpool for 2021 is that they're just clueless. They simply have no idea what they're doing in a football pitch, and that's how they are playing right now. And what do you think is their biggest problem, Neeraj?
Oof, Sai, where to begin? Yeah, I didn't really think we would ever talk about Liverpool like this, Liverpool side like that. But I think I know Liverpool fans are complaining a lot about the defense, which is fair, which is a fair complaint. They lost Van Dijk quite early in the season. We have talked about it before. Then they kept getting injuries again and again. Then Fabinho and Henderson had to play the defense. Then they had to go emergency in by Kovac and Davis this January market. And then again, Henderson got injured again. Now Fabinho is just back fit for the Chelsea game as well. I don't think defense is a problem, sir. Yes, they're losing games because the defense are not confident enough because of what's happening at front. Their forwards are completely out of form. I have absolutely no clue how Salah is at the top of the league Golden Boot race right now. Honestly, Sai, because he goes games where he goes to scores 2 goals each, and then he goes missing. It's the same with all the Liverpool front four. You have Mane is out of form, Salah is out of form in spite of all the goals. Firmino, uh, his link up self, he doesn't really contribute in a lot of goals as well. And that you have your other midfield as well. Thiago, nothing so far, and you don't really expect a lot of productivity from Liverpool midfield as such. And Alexander Arnold has not been great either. Robertson has been okay. Robertson has been consistent, but the main forces of creativity or goal creating actions have all been out of form. I would really miss Diego Jota. He started life at Liverpool brilliantly, and his injury has pulled them down as well. I think he's back now. The Liverpool fans will be looking quite forward to see him play because they desperately need some spark right now. For me, Sai, where they're lacking is the front three. It's not nothing to do with the defense. Yes, they're making small changes to accommodate Thiago in there. It is an issue. We will talk about it, but I think it's the front three who is not doing enough right now. What do you think, Sai?
I mean, uh, okay, I do agree that there's some of the issues of the country because, as you see from the statistics, Firmino's output has been dropping ever since his like the previous the time season before his title winning season. His output keeps dropping. He's not being that creative. His shot numbers are very low. His expected assist is also down, and they should have done a move to replace a pure striker, a pure finisher. I do think like Jota is a really good move. He's a really good guy to have as a player to use in the wing and occasionally at like a striker role with Salah and moving changing the front three. But I don't think that Jota is a permanent option to play in the front three because they don't have a pure striker when all three play together. And I do think that they should have addressed it. But other than that, one main issue which I found with this Liverpool system is that I went back and saw some of the previous highlights and some of the peak performances. The main thing which I found interesting is that both Salah and Mane receive the balls behind the defensive line or somewhere where they can run, like at least like the defender is in front of them where they can run. But nowadays they just receive the ball from the back of the defender, if you know what I mean. And they're not really effective in that scenarios. They're not the kind of guys who's gonna bully the defender, turn and create something like a Messi or something like that. They are just players who, if you give them space, they're gonna run, they're gonna do uh, drag a defender out, they're gonna do some creation. But I don't think that's happening in the system right now. And it's it's down to some of the midfield changes they're doing. And I think Klopp needs to fix his midfield and go with it. And his friend, like obviously the issue is also there, but then this is another big issue which I found. Like both Salah and Mane are receiving the balls from the back of the defender, and they're not really, like going forward. Like teams are kind of figured out like if they do this to them, they're not really effective. And also their fullbacks are not being allowed to. That's not allowing the fullbacks to make those overlap runs to cross the ball inside, and that's one big tactical issue which I'm finding from the Liverpool. And I don't know if Thiago is a problem for this side right now. So that's where I stand.
I agree. I've seen a lot of reactionary, this thing posts or tweets saying that, Thiago, especially from United fans, because Thiago reminds them a lot of Sebastian Veron, who had come around 2001, 2002 at United. Extremely talented player, but did not fit United side at all, the way they play or this thing like that. I don't think so. I think Klopp genuinely did want to make a change to the way he plays. I don't think Thiago was a bad
I
signing. They
mean,
needed
they've been
somebody different.
incredibly unlucky with the way these injuries happened as well. Because to fit a new piece like Thiago, who's completely different from any other midfielder you had in the previous system, let's say he's completely different from a Henderson, Fabinho, or Wijnaldum, or anybody like that. You need to kind of have a stable uh, system to remove a piece and fit in the piece. But I don't know if he's been fit very bad, to be honest. He's kind of playing well. He's doing his role, but then the team as a whole is like one thing which I believe is that sometimes confidence plays a big role more than we even think, and the pressure of being defending champions and all these things, and the confidence being so low, sometimes anything doesn't happen for the team. Like I've faced it as an Arsenal fan during the end of 2020, where Arsenal could not even get a goal out of nowhere. But then this one Chelsea game happened, and they kind of turned the switch, and ever since that, it's all been uphill for Arsenal. And Liverpool are in that very bad slump, but that slump shouldn't last this long. That's what we are trying to say, and that's the problem there right now. And Klopp kind of needs to accept the fact that this season is gone, the season is over, and it really doesn't matter what he's going to do. He has the kind of has a quality, and he is in the kind of situation to at least scrape a top four finish right now, and he just needs to let things loose and go back to this like a high pressing counter attacking monsters they were before, and let the team do their job.
Yes, I agree. So he has a lot of thinking to do, like you said, because how, as Roy Keane puts it, being champions is hard. Being defending champions is even harder, and especially in a surreal season like this, a lot of changes. This season doesn't help either, because there's a lot of, it's cramped, it's packed, all the schedules and everything. Obviously, all teams have a problem. We barely talk about Crystal Palace, who has been having like insane number of injuries, on top of 12 people, 12 players, almost 12 players coming soon to an end of contract. All clubs have their problems, and they need to deal with it. And especially if you're a top club, you're champions, Liverpool needs to deal with it. They haven't dealt with it yet, and they need to at least to finish 2020 season stronger, because it's been shambolic actually, Sai, because I just read a stat saying that since 2021 started, of all English teams, they are the bottommost in at home form, 92nd out of 92nd. That is insane. We always hear about Anfield, Fortress, 68 game unbeaten run. You go to 2 to 3 years unbeaten run. Suddenly, what's happening? Don't really. So there's a lot of plugs for Klopp to lick around, and you have your contract issues with Wijnaldum as well. So he needs a midfield replacement. He needs a new centre back. He needs a new forward as well. And it also doesn't help the overall. You were talking about confidence issues. There is a lot of confidence issues, and on top of that, a couple of howlers from Allison did help as well. And then again goalkeeper change because of unfortunate personal tragedy that happened in Allison's life. So again a couple of games where the keeper changed. There's again a misbalance again. There's a new young centre backs. I do like Kabak. I really do like him in spite of him being in Schalke. But again, settling into new league. So it's like you said, so confidence, the lineup has not been settled. So factors outside the control has not helped Klopp either. But he needs to do something soon. He needs to have a plan B, plan C, plan D, because whatever they're doing right now, it's not working.
Yeah, and yeah, that's what I think. And Klopp kind of needs to accept the fact that the season is like I think he accepts it that the season is long gone. He just needs to let loose and try things out before he gets his full squad back. Because when they get the full squad, they are really title contenders, and they're obviously going to improve this summer as well. So they just kind of have to just go back to being the side which kind of help them being that real monsters where they were absolutely lethal in the counter attack. And uh, I think that will soon happen. They just need to hit the refresh button and kind of forget all the other factors which is happening around it. So I guess it's a good time to move on to the next club, which is the club which we predicted will have a lot of issues going forward, and the manager would be felt will be in trouble. But he kind of pulled it back in one game against West Brom and some relegation candidates. But uh, against Fulham, they kind of struggled and they narrowly escaped from 1-0. So I'm talking about Tottenham Hotspur and their issues in the club right now. And I like maybe if this was recorded 2 weeks back, the listeners would have agreed that there is a really issue going on in Tottenham Football Club. But now it seems like Bale is back, Dele Alli is back, they're playing well, and people really don't accept that Tottenham are still a bad uh, football team right now. Uh, but trust me, it's soon going to come out. They're soon going to be exposed once again. So, Neeraj, do you think they are all set, or do you think they still have some problems in the club?
I do agree, side. They still do have problems. I'm talking about the defense side. We'll get by one. If we talk about defense, I don't think Sanchez is good enough. I think he's good enough to be a squad rotation player, like a squad defender. He is good, but he always has a mistake in him. Alderweireld is past his peak. He still has his odd performance here and there, but he is around 32, 33 years old right now, and he needs to be phased out slowly. Eric Dyer, he has been good this season, to be fair, but last since 2021, he hasn't been in the greatest form. Being he was surprisingly good at the beginning of the season. I was actually genuinely surprised. Dyer playing better at centre back, but again he is drop in form as well. Both the centre backs need changing. Joe Rodon is good, but again, young kid from Swansea, going to take time to adjust. He seems like a potential. They really do need a centre back. They do need a new left back because what they can do is either convert Ben Davis to a centre back or use him as a backup for a wing back because Davis is not good enough anymore. I actually never rated Davis. I always felt he's too defensive for a fullback, even for a normal fullback, let alone an attacking fullback. And his attacking outputs aren't great either. And he was great. He was pretty good a couple of seasons ago, but not right now. And Regulian has been great, but again, he has been injured, and Tottenham really missed him because his like much of Liverpool, their lot of their attacking output comes from Regulian on the left and Serge Aurier on the right, and Regulian absence has affected them as well. I think the defense needs a total revamp, I have to say, because Tanganga is good. Again, they have potential players. They have Tanganga who is good. Joe Rodon is good. Regulian, you never know when he'll go back to Madrid. And you have Serge Aurier who's pretty great at attacking, but you never know when he's going to give away a mistake. They do, and Doherty has not never really understood the Doherty signing. And it made sense, uh, but at the time because I thought Jose was going to shift to a back three, but and I really did think by now Doherty would have got adjusted to playing in a back four, but evidently he still hasn't. But again, the slow signs of, like you mentioned, slow signs of the team as a whole coming back to form. So if you're looking at the summer recruitment, Levy's and Jose's size has to be on the defense. Midfield is great. I think Lo Celso's injury has been a great miss for them. His coming back will be a big boost. And most important of two important players that they desperately needed to perform, Bale and Ali. Bale has been great this month. I was looking at the social media posts and he's been involved in like 80, 70 to 80% of the goals. And Ali, ever since his Europa League performance, he started playing well again. So Jose will be hoping these to keep up because they need a forwards clicking. Son had a dip in form. Kane had, wouldn't say dip in form, but that squad as a whole was not getting the results out. And there are a couple of results in between with it was a proper defensive mistake and a goalkeeper. That's why Lloris always gets on my nerves because he's a fantastic goalkeeper, but he always has a mistake in him. Always, ever since he came to Tottenham and for France as well, he always has this lapse of concentration or something like that. And couple of goalkeeper mistakes led to direct goals, defensive mistakes. So I think Tottenham's focus should be on the defense right now. The midfield is great. I think their attack is pretty good. They need to sort the defense out. For me, that's all they need to do it. I mean, assuming Ali keeps his form, and I'm not sure how the Bale situation is going to be, but I'm assuming he'll go back to go to Madrid. If he does, so they need a new winger as well. If not, their eye should be on centre backs. What do you think, sir?
Yeah, like I mean, if you had asked me 2 weeks back, I would have said that they're like a big number one issue which I find from them is their attack because they're too reliant on Harry Kane to do anything for the attack. And when he was missing from his injury, they had literally no clue what to do in the attack. Son had no idea what he was supposed to do. Bergwijn looked clueless. Mora was so bad, and everything like that happened. And I did feel that at that time we should have bought in Dele Alli and he should have used Bale occasionally with his fitness concerns, and that could have made a little bit difference. And Bale coming to the form and Harry Kane coming back from his injury has kind of masked the issue right now. And I still think that when Harry Kane goes down, their entire system falls apart, and that really needs to be addressed from Jose because Harry Kane is not a dependable player for the entire season. He's very fragile. He might get injured anytime, and especially in these crucial times where matches keep happening every 4 3 days, and if your system is completely one single player, you can't afford to lose him even for one match. And even like right now with the situation Jose is in right now, he needs to take Europa League a little bit more seriously. So he kind of needs to play Harry Kane in this deep run Europa League knockout phases, and also the Premier League phases. Because and one thing is to protect him from his injuries, and the second thing is to have a system where they're not completely reliant upon Harry Kane to bring like create something from the attack. And past 2 weeks they have masked that issues a little bit. They had a good win, and I don't know, but like I still think it's because of the quality of side they went against. The quality was so bad that they kind of got away with their attacks, and that needs to be addressed. I don't know if it is going to pop up anytime soon, but Harry Kane is too good that it's not really visible until he goes down. But I do agree about the defense. I think the defense needs to be a little bit more uh, like changed completely because the right back situation is totally messed up. Aurier is actually a really good player when he is completely 100% focused, but when he is not, which sometimes happens in the crucial moments, the team definitely concedes a goal or a penalty. And Doherty, I was not a big fan of the signing, and it still proves that he's not the kind of right back you want a Tottenham side to have. And I think Reguilon is a really good player, and they should just hope that you know Madrid doesn't trigger the buyback clause and not take him back, because that's going to be a big blow for them, because they don't have a good left back over there. And the centre backs, the main thing which I find is that they're not really aggressive. They don't really aggressively win the ball higher up in the field. They are too passive. They're really good aerially, which you expect a Mourinho centre back to be in. But the entire destructive work has to be done by Hoiberg, and that's too much to ask for one single player there. And he's a really good player, but when he's out of form, the Tottenham midfield is ran through by pacey forwards and pacey midfielders. Like, let's take Fulham for example. That game, the midfield was totally ran over by Fulham forwards and uh, midfielders, because Hoiberg had a bad game, and the centre backs were not aggressive to stop the attacks, and they just let the midfielders to run past them, and that needs to be fixed. And Sissoko is not. I'm not a big fan of Sissoko. I don't know if he's even a utility player for a Tottenham side anymore. They need to have ideally another box-to-box player who is really good at uh, tackles and interceptions, and you can kind of give a cover when needed for this side. But I think the main issue is that they need to have an attack other than Harry Kane, and not, like, you know what I mean. Like, there is one thing called as a system for your side, and one thing as one player being the entire system of the side. When you have a system, you kind of need to just replace with the backup who's kind of going to fit right into the system. And if you have a player as your entire system, you're truly screwed. Because that's what happened when Harry Kane went down injured. Ideally, you want his backup, who's Carlos Vinicius, to come in and fit into the system and produce the output. But that was not really the case. They kind of struggled. They moved around Bergwijn into a nine, and they moved around Son into the number nine position, and they tried everything and it did not work. And I guess Jose has to have a plan, because if he doesn't, if the season doesn't end well for him, if he gets a Europa League knockout, and I don't know if he's going to even win the Carabao Cup against the Man City side, it's going to be a big problem. His position is under big threat.
Yeah, I agree, Sai, about about the system part. You do. The problem with that is only in Tottenham's case, because, like you said, every team needs to have a system in place. That's how the modern football works. Is that to find a profile of Harry Kane's, as a profile as a Harry Kane, you have to go really hard to find, and it's very tricky, because either you can develop a system where you have your usual number nine, or your Hurricane, and your wingers, your Lucas Moura or Bale or Son. Behind you have Ndomble or Deli Ali recently, who's come back to form now. But with obviously the gameplay has been set in such a way that you can completely unlock Kane's playmaking potential. Not all strikers are going to have that. I don't think any striker has that. To be honest, the ability to play the balls that Kane has. So Jose definitely needs to have a backup strategy or a plan in place if Harry Kane is not available, because that's key. Like you said, if Harry Kane crumbles, Tottenham's entire flow disrupts, and that shouldn't be happening. There needs to be either a backup, contingency plan left, or he needs to come up with a system. Either one of these should be there. If you don't have both, and just okay, Kane's injured, let's play Carlos there, or let's play Bale there, and expecting them to do the same job. Carlos, who's like a very young player, and Bale, who prefers to be a winger than a center forward. It just does not work. It's
Like,
not going to work the
you
same way.
know, yeah, if you want me to, like, if there's anything to summarize that, at one stretch of time before these 2 weeks, their goals came from either Son or Kane. There was literally no other scorer for them, and that was a big, like, that did look good for their statistics for Son and Kane individually, and it did look good for Tottenham. But then, uh, I'm not saying that that's bad, that they are the only people who are getting goals. It's like, if you have that world class talent in your hands, you might as well use them fully. But then when one of them goes down, when one of them is a little bit fragile, that's when the problem comes in. When you can't remove the piece from there and fit in another piece and still function the same system, uh, like albeit with less output, you can't expect the same kind of creativity from Carlos Vinicius. Uh, but then the system is completely falling apart when you completely depend on one player to do everything. So yeah, that's where the problem is. They need to have some other goal scorers and some other creators other than these players right now.
Yeah. We'll see how, like you said, it's very important for them to finish the league strong. And they do need to focus. I don't think Mourinho will pass up on the Europa. It's a chance for a trophy. That's exactly what he's been brought for. I think a good chance of him
100%. Like he's
taking.
gonna go all out on Europa League
Yeah,
and Carabao Cup.
yeah.
That's
I
for sure.
think he's going to take the league. Let that happen, but focus everything on the Europa because he needs it. Tottenham needs it as a club, and he needs it as a manager more than so both the parties are really desperate for the trophy. Like I don't really see them beating City with a Carabao, obviously. I mean, unless something miracle happens and Jose comes with an absolute typical Mourinho masterclass and with everybody contributing. I really don't see City losing their game. So there, Europa is the best chance of silverware, like you say. So he needs to see
Yeah.
what happens. He needs to keep Kane fit. He needs to keep all the other important attacking players fit, like Regulion and Bale, and he needs to integrate Dele Alli back into the squad. Because I always seen with all his grace and uh, chance creating ability. I've always seen Ndombele as a part of a pivot or as a box to box, not as a number 10. And that's only because Lo Celso was injured and Dele Alli was out of form either. But Ali needs to come back and integrate seamlessly into the team so that you can get a well balanced Tottenham side. A well balanced Tottenham side, if not right, it's a really good squad. But just one or two injuries, like you mentioned, you need a system in place. One or two injuries away from everything crumbling, and that's when all the meltdowns and all the crisis at Tottenham talks comes up, and we'll see how Tottenham ends the season from here.
Yeah, like I just hope they rot and go trophyless
Yeah.
once again. And it's kind of fun to see them crumbling apart with times. And like it's gonna happen soon. I'm pretty sure about that. So now I guess the next clubs which I'm gonna talk about doesn't really have major issues right now. But we're just gonna quickly cover them. So let's just start with Chelsea. Uh, like they have had a good run of form under Tuchel. They haven't. I don't think they even lost one game under Tuchel, and to find a negative out of this is going to be absolutely tough. But do you think there is anything like I'm not going to say that they have a problem right now, but do you think there is anything which they need to improve?
Like you mentioned, they already all do have a brilliant squad, and they have been doing well this season as well, especially after Tuchel came in. I do think they need a centre back. If they're going for a title winning, championship winning side, they do need a centre back because he does seem to rate Rudiger. Rudiger, to be fair, on his day, and if the game is right, if the system is right, can play well. But I'm not. I'm not the biggest fan of Rudiger, to be honest. Great ball playing abilities, but apart from that, as a defender, mm, I'm very neutral about it. I don't really have much opinions on the Rudiger. And Christensen again, good backup option as well. And I was very surprised they sold Tomori. Tomori would have been a great backup centre back. I don't know what's happening there. And Silva is 36-year-old, and Zuma is sort of like the sort of player who needs somebody experienced to guide him. It sort of reminds me of how the PK Puyol relationship used to happen at the peak Barca time. Uh, PK was always a great centre back, but I always felt he would have never reached a level if he was not playing with Puyol. Sorry, I felt Puyol's guidance and his leadership and his experience PK made PK look good, and since he moved on, PK went on to become a world class centre back. And I personally feel it's the same with Zuma. Zuma, and even if you watch Chelsea games, Zuma is great if Silva is playing. If Silva isn't there, either he's been acting in poor position, his ball distribution is wayward. This decision making isn't the greatest either. So I do think they need a centre back. I'm not putting Zuma down, but if they're going to challenge for a title, they need a Van Dijk, or they need a Ruben Diaz in the squad. What do you think, Sai?
Yeah, that's actually a good point. But then I don't know. Like, I'm gonna go completely different route on this. Like, I do completely agree with that. Like, next season when they're going for the title, they're gonna have to get a proper centre back who's gonna start 38 games and be dominant and be the leader for the side, and that's absolutely 100% needed. But the other thing which I think is that I don't know. I'm not gonna particularly call this a problem, but I do understand where Tuchel is coming from. Like, their lack of goals. Like, they're being very good defensively. They're playing three at the back and they're being very good defensively, but they're not particularly scoring a lot of goals every game. Like, they are kind of struggling to score goals there. Uh, the thing which I think is a big problem there is that, like, why that is happening is because one is that Tuchel wants to first set his defense up to be defensively solid and then start playing with his attacking talent which he has in the right now. But I guess he kind of needs to be consistent with his attacking lineup to build a little bit more of a chemistry, because they keep rotating more than they're supposed to. But I'm not sure if it's because Tuchel wants to see which player he needs to have and which player he needs to uh, like sell in the summer or something like that. But you kind of need to have a set lineup with a little bit rotation and not too much rotation there, because all these players are already new to the club who have not played together for a long time, and that itself kind of takes time to set. And when you're going for title next season, which obviously the Chelsea board expects you to do, you need to have a attacking front four where they all know each other, they all know each other runs, they all know what kind of ball they expect and what kind of regions they expect from. Because at one time they play ZH, and one time they play Pulisic, and one time they play Werner as a number nine, one time they play Giroud as a number nine, and it kind of keeps changing every single game. Uh, but that needs to be changed, because I do understand the part of experimenting, but they are currently in a top four race right now, and they can't take this lightly, and it's going to benefit them for the next season as well, because they need to have that set attacking lineup which understands the chemistry between them and can work together well.
Yeah, I agree, Sai. But then I'm slightly letting Tuchel off the hook because again, like you just mentioned the point, you touched upon the point, right? Maybe he's just stopping and changing to see who he wants to keep around and how he wants to set his team, how he looks his team forward for the next season. Maybe it's part of that. I don't know. Maybe it could be that. But I do agree that he needs to nail down on a starting lineup soon. So yeah, but I see only good things for Chelsea next year.
Yeah. The next up, we're going to talk about Arsenal. When you look at their position, you would kind of say that they are in a big trouble. But uh, I don't know. I think it's going to come as a bias from me, so I'm going to let you say, what do you think is Arsenal's biggest problem here, which I would say is themselves.
I think Sai, because I really like Arteta as a coach, right? But he does need to chop off a few players. I think you would agree with me when I say this is that more than anything else, more than any position or any tactics, it is an individual, almost schoolboyish mistakes that's leading to, dropping points or conceding goals and stuff like that. So, Sai, before I go on with Arsenal, next season, realistically, what is your expectation? Like, where do you think Arsenal should be? Should they be the top six? Be the top four? What do you think?
Uh, I think like this season we have been so unlucky because our main marquee signing was missing for the first half of the season, and is just now coming to full fitness like in the end of the season, which is kind of bad because he's a big piece in the midfield who offers like more than what the other midfielders in Arsenal offers. And the other big issue is that Arteta took so much time to find that he needs to trust Emil Smith Rowe in the number 10 position. And that is kind of a mistake from Edu that he did not provide the creative player Arteta requested for, because ideally he wanted both Aouar and Partey, and he understand why. And he took too much time to trust an 18-year-old to play there. And ever since he switched the system to play a 4-2-3-1, we have been really, 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 really good. I guess there wasn't any game where we were totally outsmarted by the opponent, like except for the Man City game, which you expect that to happen. Other than that, every single game we have played really well. And as you mentioned, their biggest problem is themselves, because they do make the schoolboy mistakes where they dig themselves a hole which they struggle to come out of, and that's a big problem. And as for the expectation of next season, I really feel if the summer recruitment goes as per plan, like the main problem which I find in this squad is their right back position, which they need to upgrade on. Hector Bellerin has been so underwhelming this season, uh, and they need to find a really good midfield partner for Partey and fix on that number 10 position. I think Odegaard and Emil Smith Rowe are good two people to have to rotate, and if Odegaard is available, just buy him, or if Odegaard is not available, switch for the number 10. And I think that's it. And that's the kind of positions we need to fit in, because Arteta is known to make some small tactical tweaks for this game, which is kind of working. Like he did trust on Willian to, at some crucial games in the Europa League and also in the last game week against Leicester, which paid off. And it shows that he knows what he's doing. He knows his tactics. He knows what kind of profile he wants, and everything is there. And next season, we need to make a little bit more upgrade in the right back position and the midfield position, and crucially in the striker position, because we have been absolutely woeful in finishing. We do score a lot of goals though, but then we could have scored a lot more if we had been a little bit more clinical in the front of the goal. Because in this game against Burnley, we mainly lost because we are not clinical. I don't care about the referee mistakes. That is for totally another episode. But they need to be a little bit more clinical. And I guess that's mainly comes down to quality more than just coaching, because I think the coaching is kind of there. The coach knows what he wants to do. There's steady progress, and the season they just need to forget. And if they make the right changes, I 100% believe that we can contest for top four next season and slowly move on from there.
Okay. Ambitious side for top four. So that if you want for top four, I generally think you need to get a new center back as well. I don't think with the current setup, obviously you have a couple of players on loan as
Uh,
well. I do think you need
I
a
think
new center back for
Saliba.
top
I
four.
think Saliba is playing fantastic in Lyon, and this is the kind of exposure which Arteta wanted him to have. And when he comes back, I am pretty much sure that him and Gabriel are going to be the centre back main centre back partnership, and the backups are possibly going to be Rob Holding and Pablo Mari. And like I do agree, if you have a chance to get a world class piece, and you do go ahead and bring him in. But I think there are three more positions which are of higher priority than this right now, and I think that's the big thing they need to address for top. Like we never thought that United are going to be this high in the league table right now, or Chelsea are. We thought Chelsea are going to be our favorites for number three, and Premier League. I think with the quality of the lower table teams and the mid table teams right now, you don't know what's going to happen in this league. And I do think that more than like there have been very rare instances where Arteta is being outcoached by another coach, and when he gets the quality down under, the results are naturally going to come. And let's see.
Yeah, let's say, like you mentioned, we used to always discuss about the right back situation at Arsenal as well. You know, with Cedric playing left back, makeshift left back sometimes when Tierney was injured, and then obviously Bellerin has been underwhelming. I think against Burnley, Chambers made his Premier League appearance after quite a while. So right back is sort of a tricky, and again striker obviously as always Aubameyang. Honestly, I like I said, overall gameplay as a footballer, but he's not exactly the most clinical finisher I've seen, or for a number nine at least. So I definitely think you do need a replacement for Xhaka. Well, Xhaka drops down to the bench, and like you mentioned, another forward. We don't know if Odegaard is going to stay or not, right? So you do need another number 10 in your side if you're going to persist with the 4-2-3-1. So obviously you have your a young talent in Emil Smith Rowe. So and you need somebody to share that creative response. Obviously, Saka has been exceptional this season, quite the revelation he has been. But then he's still 19. You need somebody, somebody experienced, maybe around somebody who has been there, who, share responsibilities. Like we were talking about Bruno and Sancho, if Sancho is being targeted. Similar for Arsenal, you need to share that goal shot creation opportunities from all the other sides as well, not just from your number 10. All right, so let's see, Sai. Let's see what happens. Again, just like United and Liverpool, this next summer's recruitment is going to be very key in Arsenal's top four or top six ambitions next year. Again, like you said, the other clubs are playing well as well. You have Leicester, West Ham, Leeds threatening. So yeah, you have other clubs who and obviously we have Everton as well. So you have clubs who are knocking on the door. And so this summer recruitment is going to be especially key for some of our clubs that we have discussed.
Yeah, I think they need to persist with Arteta, and they need not uh, I don't think he's the problem in the club right now. I think he's the right coach to take us forward, and he is doing things right. He just is being let down by the players and other stuff which he can't control right now. And this summer, I hope he gets the players he needs, because when he has the quality, I think he can show that he can build a really good side. And let's see. I'm just hoping for the optimistic result right now.
Yeah, so let's see. So anyway, we only have Manchester City left side. Do you have anything to say about City?
No, I think I don't know. I really try to find anything, any weakness in the side, and I think it's totally irrelevant to look for anything in the side. They're just too good. And they're just gonna get someone like a Messi or Haaland and just absolutely destroy the league next year.
Yeah.
And
If
I don't know.
if not anything, there might be in the market for a number nine. I don't see anywhere else. We need some improvement anywhere.
Exactly.
Maybe to improve the squad depth. Maybe let's say a backup for a Cancelo, or since Mendy is gone off, probably Mendy will be sold off to make some transfer budget. You need a left back backup as well. Maybe there's a squad filling, maybe, but no faults from for City from my side at least.
Yeah, they're just too perfect right now. So we have come to the end of this episode where we kind of addressed upon the key issues which we find in the top six sides right now, which they need to fix to get good ending for the season. We'll be coming up with more interesting topics from the next game week as well. The Europa League is coming up, and that's going to give us a lot of drama. So let's see what's happening in the next week, and stay safe until then.